I have $8 billion in my bank account, but this morning I'm wearing a faded orange jumpsuit and rubber boots. I look like a janitor in his 60s who's never seen a tip in his life. All that matters is one thing. If my son sees me like this, will he look at me like I'm a human being, or with a look that says, "Who the hell are you?" If he chooses the second one, those $8 billion won't have his name on them anymore. 30 years ago, all I had was an old copy machine and a handwritten flyer taped to my door. Now I'm standing in front of a skyscraper that bears my name, but this time I'm playing the part of Joe, the night shift janitor. Not because I enjoy being looked down on, but because I need to know if Michael, the son I thought I knew better than anyone, would even recognize me. Michael grew up swaddled in luxury private schools, studying abroad in England his first sports car before he was old enough to drive. I used to proudly think of it as unconditional love. But in recent years, every time he came home, it was like listening to him recite a price list. The cleaning staff were just those people, as if they didn't have names. I had to ask myself, did I raise an heir or just someone entitled to an inheritance? After 40 sleepless nights and 2 minor heart scares, I decided to find the answer. The only way I had left by becoming a stranger my own son wouldn't give a second glance. At 4:30 a.m., I snuck out of the mansion through the back door, avoiding the cameras. I put on the old orange jumpsuit and the rubber boots. I practiced the shuffling walk of a man over 50 who's on his feet all night. The building manager of the building named after me hired me for $150 a day. He had no idea I was writing a lesson worth $8 billion. For 3 weeks, I mopped floors, swept trash, and cleaned the windows on 7 floors. I learned to notice the things people leave behind: a lipstick stain on a glass, the lingering scent of perfume in an elevator, the hurried footsteps of office workers. I also learned to see my son through the eyes of a ghost. If the guests don't see me, I don't see them. On Saturday night, Michael and his friends booked the VIP lounge on the 68th floor. I knew because I saw the schedule. They arrived 25 minutes late, already drunk. I stood outside with my cleaning caddy waiting for them to go in. I didn't have to act. I just had to remember who I was in my son's eyes. Michael kicked the door open. My stainless steel caddy crashed against it and cleaning fluid splashed all over the white carpet. I bent over, repeating, "I'm so sorry, sir." Michael looked down with the same eyes I saw when he broke a vase at age 7, but this time the apology wasn't coming from him. He lightly kicked the caddy, making it clang. "Are you blind, old man? Do you have any idea how much this rug costs?" I did, won $500 imported from Portugal, but the cost of his question was much higher. I just shook my head, pretending to be flustered. A girl in the group, I remember her as Michael's friend from middle school, stepped in. "Come on, Mike, just let Joe clean it up. You've got plenty of money, cut the guy some slack." Michael sneered, pulled out his wallet and peeled off a $50 bill like it was a winning lottery ticket. He threw it on the floor. The crisp sound of the bill was like a slap in the face. "Clean it up, and don't let me see you here again." I bent down to pick up the money, my hand shaking not with anger, but with a cold. A chill that went straight to the bone. I thought of my wife. If she were still alive, would she even recognize the child she raised in this moment? I straightened my back. No more bowing. I said my own name, not Joe, but Jonathan Sterling, in the same voice my board members hear in a shareholder meeting. I pressed a button on my old phone. 5 seconds later, 2 of my personal security guards and my executive assistant appeared, heads bowed, awaiting my command. Michael blinked as if blinded by a camera flash. I took off the cloth cap, letting my half-gray hair fall. For the first time in 4 years, I looked him straight in the eye as a father, not a chairman. "Michael, I once told you that money is a tool. You're letting the tool control you. You threw down a $50 bill today, but what you really threw away was your last ticket to being a Sterling." I pulled a folded plastic bag from my pocket and handed it to my assistant, the black card, the keys to the Aston Martin, the Richard Mille watch. I'd had him retrieve them from my son's room the night before. "From now on, you earn every dollar yourself. Learning to mop floors is a skill. If you're a quick study, maybe you'll even earn a tip of your own." I turned my back and walked away without looking back. I heard his friend Sarah's voice cry out, "Michael!" as if it were shattering. I heard his footsteps stumble back as if hit by a wave. I don't know if he was crying. I didn't allow myself to turn around. The first day without Michael, the mansion felt so large my footsteps echoed. I still went to the building at 4:30 a.m., but I wore a cashmere suit and worked from my office on the 72nd floor. The old orange jumpsuit hangs on the back of the security office door. A reminder, the poorest man isn't the one with no money, but the one with no one left to believe in. I didn't cut him off completely. I'd still cover his tuition, but with a condition: Michael has to apply for a scholarship and write a 3-page essay on lessons from a janitor. If he can't, he'll work 4 hours a night, 6 nights a week in this very building for $150 a shift, just like Joe. Section 5. A twist. More bitter than the lesson. A week later, the building manager called someone had applied for a job. I told him to proceed with the interview. The door opened. It wasn't Michael. It was Sarah, his best friend. She bowed her head, clutching her application. "I'd like to interview for a server position, sir. I have experience from a campus cafe." I asked her, "Did Michael not come with you?" Sarah shook her head. "He needs time. But I'm not going to let him go through this alone. I owe him for something he did for me when we were kids, and now I want to pay it back. I'll work as a waitress and we'll split my pay. My half will help him cover his school fees." I nodded and hired her. I set out to test my son. But the truest heart belonged to someone who wasn't family. Sometimes the most expensive lessons come from the people you never planned for. Tonight I'm sitting in the library, a room Michael hasn't opened in 2 years, looking at a picture of my wife. I said to her, "Honey, I raised a prince with money but forgot to teach him how to be a man. Now I have to learn how to be a father all over again." I don't know how long it will be before Michael knocks on the manager's door asking Joe to teach him how to carry a glass of water without spilling it. A week, a year, 10 years. I've left him a different kind of bank, a real job, a good friend, and a lesson money can't buy: humility. Share mid-video call to action. If this story resonates with you, text someone you love right now, "I'm thinking of you." A simple message is the fastest way to test yourself. Do you still remember how to treat people who offer you no advantage? I've also put a link to an organization that helps young people find work in the description if you or someone you know needs a fresh start, just like Michael does. I used to think my biggest test was taking my company public. It turns out the biggest test was watching my son scorn his own father in a janitor's uniform and not being able to say, "Son, it's me." I failed that test in 18 seconds, but I still have time for a retake, and I have to pass this time because the price of failing is an entire generation. Warren Buffett said, "The best inheritance a parent can give his children is a few minutes of his time each day." I was wrong to think my time was more valuable in a boardroom. Wrong to trade bedtime stories for fat envelopes. And wrong to believe money could buy back the years I missed. Now I understand you can hire someone to teach your child how to swim, play the piano, or speak French, but no one can teach your child how to be a good person for you. That job is yours alone. People ask me, "Aren't you afraid your son will hate you?" I'm more afraid he'll hate himself. Afraid he'll look back one day and not understand how he could despise someone just because of the clothes they wore. If that happens, the lesson backfired. But I still did it because a real man isn't measured by his bank balance, but by how many times he's willing to start over from a negative balance in his moral account. For anyone thinking this story isn't real, it isn't just my story. It belongs to anyone who ever believed love can be replaced with a credit card. I know because I used to be that person, and I was lucky enough to get a chance to fix my mistake. If you still have your parents, call them now. Don't wait until you have to pretend to be a stranger to see them. And if you're a young person, send a loved one a thank you, even if they have nothing to give but their time. Sometimes people aren't rich enough to give you the world, but they dare to give you their entire world. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next day. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss it.